Monday evening, House of Commons. All 338 elected MPs are casting their votes, deciding whether the Canadian government will make it through the winter or plunge the country into yet another election. Dear viewers, if you tuned into the news yesterday and wondered why the TV kept jumping between the vote tally and the tense expressions on the parliamentary benches, you were witnessing something that happens maybe once in a generation in Canadian politics. No one, absolutely no one, knew the outcome until the Speaker read the final number. The Carney government survived by a razor-thin margin, a single vote. Not one seat, not a partisan split, just one vote. That's how close we came in the middle of winter, during a period of economic uncertainty sparked by American tariffs and rising domestic pressure, to facing another federal election, another campaign, more instability, more weeks of waiting to find out who would lead the country. And then something completely unexpected happened that changed the entire dynamic. Elizabeth May, the Green Party leader who holds no seats but whose vote can tip the balance in a minority parliament, stood up and said she was voting yes. Not reluctantly, not because she was cornered, not as part of some political trade or secret deal. She said yes because Mark Carney, right there in question period, made her a direct promise on climate policy. One that meant more to her than party strategy or political maneuvering. The final count, 170 yes, 168 no, 2 votes. That's all that separated Canada's government from an election in December and all the chaos that would come with it. 2 votes meant the government lived. 2 votes meant Parliament could still function. 2 votes meant the country would have a functioning government instead of more instability. What I find fascinating is this. Elizabeth May had publicly said she would vote no. She announced it on Sunday. She planned to oppose the budget and help bring down the government. But something shifted, and it changed everything. During Monday's question period, she asked Carney a very direct question about the Paris climate commitments. Not vaguely, not indirectly. She wanted him to say, loudly, clearly, and on the record, that Canada would meet its climate targets. No diplomatic language, no wiggle room, no we're working on it. She wanted an unmistakable commitment, and Carney delivered. He stood and said, without hesitation, "We will honor our Paris climate change commitments, and we are determined to deliver on them." That was enough for her to completely change her stance. She walked out of the House and told reporters something remarkable. Against what I expected to tell you today, I'm voting yes, for the country, for the planet, and for my hope for the future. Think about that for a moment. One honest answer, one clear commitment from a prime minister, one promise spoken directly in Parliament. It flipped the political dynamic. It determined whether the government survived. It decided whether Canadians would head back to the polls. And here's something easy to miss. 2 Conservative MPs didn't show up. 2 NDP MPs abstained instead of voting against. None of them pulled the trigger to bring the government down. When the actual moment came, when the vote was real, they let Carney continue governing. Doesn't that tell you something about what Canadians want right now? I think it does. It suggests people are willing to let a government try to carry out a strategy, rather than dragging the country into elections every few months over partisan battles. The budget itself is thick, hundreds of pages of policy, projections, and plans. But at its core, Carney's first budget sends one unmistakable message. We will not let Trump's tariffs crush us. We will invest in our own future and build alternatives. The government is pouring money into housing. Thousands of homes are going up across the country. It's investing heavily in defense, infrastructure, and job-creating projects nationwide. The message is simple. Canada will shape its own future instead of waiting for the US to rethink its trade policies or economic pressure. Is it bigger than expected? Yes. Carney openly admits that, but he also explains why it's necessary. When tariffs hit your biggest trading partner, when economic uncertainty rises, when allies question North America's stability, you invest in alternatives. You support workers through the transition. You build new industries so you aren't dependent on one market. Some call it reckless spending. Others see it as essential investment. Many fall somewhere in between. That debate is legitimate. It's exactly why Parliament exists. But Monday showed something important. Enough MPs decided to give this plan a chance. Let's see if it works. Let's not drag Canadians to the polls in midwinter because we disagree on economic approaches. Let's allow the government to actually govern. That's how democracy is supposed to work. Imperfectly, but with enough trust to let elected officials attempt their vision. Now, I want to ask you directly because I genuinely want to know, when you watched that vote or heard about it today, what crossed your mind? Were you relieved? Frustrated at how close it was? Did you finally feel like we might focus on policy instead of non-stop campaigning? Or did you wish the vote went the other way? For Canadians my age, for anyone who has lived through decades of shifting prime ministers and changing approaches to the US, this moment feels significant. It feels like Canada is making a conscious decision about the kind of country it wants to become. You know, we've had eras of tight alignment with the United States, and eras where we pushed for independence, sometimes smoothly, sometimes, well, a bit awkwardly. But honestly, few of us have seen a moment where we balance both maintaining the relationship while refusing dependence. That's what this budget represents. Carney isn't rejecting America. He's not hostile. He's saying we have options. We can build. We can grow. We can negotiate from a place where we actually have alternatives. For older Canadians who remember Pierre Trudeau challenging US dominance in the 1970s, does this moment feel familiar? I'd love to hear your thoughts. The budget passed Monday, but the real work starts now. Execution begins. Parliament will dig into every detail. Opposition parties will propose amendments. Some accepted, some rejected. Real debate will happen. Some pieces may shift, but the direction is now set. Canada is choosing to invest in itself, and the government now has time and permission to roll out that strategy. Will it work? Honestly, no one knows. Economic policy is complicated. Global markets are unpredictable. Trump's future policies, impossible to forecast. But here's what we do know. Canadians chose to try, not because everyone loves Carney or thinks the budget is flawless, but because the alternative, another election, more instability, more months without direction, felt worse. That sounds very Canadian to me. Practical, not idealistic, not driven by affection for Carney. Driven by, let's see if this works. I really want to know what you think. If you followed Canadian politics for decades, does this remind you of anything? If you're just worried about your own life, jobs, housing, the economy, that's understandable too. Leave a comment and tell me. Not for the algorithm, not as a gimmick, because I genuinely want to know what's on your mind. And if this video helped make things clearer, if you thought, okay, that actually made sense, share it with someone. Not for me, for them. There are Canadians who care about this stuff and want real explanations without the noise. This is your country. This is your moment. And Monday's vote matters because it shapes what comes next for Canada. And before you go, don't forget, subscribe to Worldline Analysis and hit the bell so you never miss our future breakdowns.